Good evening and welcome to Load Bag NUFC. This is the reaction show to Newcastle versus Everton. I think we all know how we are after that one. So let's just get into it. This is the team used for the Newcastle. Botman on the bench, Barnes on the bench, Elanga starts, Ramsey is back for a while at least, and Gordon plays up top. Thoughts on the team use, Pete?
It looked like Walt was playing up top. It looked like Gordon was on the left. It looked like Joelinton was in midfield. Pretty much how we should have started the game. But it wasn't. It was very, very different. And in terms of the lineup, I think everyone got it wrong. We all anticipated it to be the wrong lineup, and ultimately Eddie Howe got it wrong because then he had to change it after about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and he should have done it after 5 or 10. That's the reality of it all, but that's how I saw the lineup anyway.
How about you, Chris? What's your thoughts on the lineup?
Yeah, it's the same as Pete. I thought Voltemada was playing in the 9 role. It turns out he was in midfield, and obviously Joelinton was on the left, Gordon through the middle. But yeah, I was. It was a pavance, wasn't it? As soon as the game kicked off, you could see that obviously Gordon was playing in the 9, Joelinton was on the left, and Voltemada was in the middle. But yeah, I still thought this team, this lineup would have enough today, but seemingly not.
Seemingly not is right. This is the Everton lineup as well, for anyone who wants to know. Congratulations to Everton. Let's start with that as well. Well, let's go. Let's go through the game. We'll try and rattle through this as fast as possible. And apologies, just had a few admin things to do on the side. Right, first half, Newcastle looking composed in the opening 10 minutes. Popey with some early footwork and a misplaced pass by Malik Chow, the only moments of concern. And 12 minutes in, J7 puts the ball over the bar after being fed in by Gordon. Tonali on his 100th appearance for Newcastle today, doing well and tracking back and cleaning up where necessary. 19 minutes, an Everton corner. We did warn people about this on the preview show. With Jarrad Branthwaite connects as it goes in off the post. Everton take the lead 1-0. Tonali was the closest to marking Branthwaite at that time. But thoughts on that first Everton goal, Pete?
I think before I talk about the goal, I just want to ask a question to the manager, the staff, the players that talk through these things before the game. Who in their right mind thought it was a good idea to have Sandro Tonali man mark Jarrad Branthwaite?
Yeah.
A 6'5", 6'6" centre-back. Who thought in their right mind that was the right decision to do? And if it wasn't, and if it was meant to be something different, who out of that leadership on that pitch has decided that was okay in game? Regardless, it was an absolute disgrace that Sandro Tonali, right, is having to mark someone that size. He's never going to win that. I don't even blame him. He shouldn't be marking him. It's as simple as that. Jarrad Branthwaite's one of the biggest players on the pitch. And you know what's even laughable about that? Is that Dan Burns, the last man nearest the back post? Why the hell is he not marking him? Because he's always going to be a target in the box, just like Dan Burns always a target in the attacking box for us. And they have their tallest, most physical player marking him. It's schoolboy stuff. It's absolutely schoolboy stuff. What the hell is going on here? I mean, look, the goal, okay, he gets a little flick, fine. It wasn't a great move, but it was made to look better than what it was because of our inability to get those little things right on the pitch. The manager, the staff, the players have all got to take responsibility there. That is an absolute joke. That is number one rule. You match up your players to players who are physical in terms of strength and size to ensure that that does not happen. It's absolutely ridiculous. I can't believe it. I cannot believe we've allowed that to happen. It's a joke.
Chris, your thoughts on Braithwaite's goal?
Yeah,
we talked so much about him in the preview.
Yeah, we did. And you know what? All of this 90 minutes, this game, this 96 minutes is just going to come and bite me on the backside. And I think that's why I'm so disappointed, because obviously, you know, Branthwaite scores, Beto scores, and then Pickford makes a fantastic save at the end, doesn't he? But yeah, the goal, I didn't, like Pete, funnily enough, I didn't really have much to say about the goal, because the goal was just the goal. But ultimately, as Pete rightly pointed out, and I thought the same at the time, I thought, if you were to ask me before the game, which player or players are the most threatening in the box, I would say Jarrad Branthwaite and James Tarkowski. They're the two who, at set pieces, you've got to keep an eye on. You have to keep an eye on. But boys, we've said this how many times when we played West Ham, Souček, exactly the same. Like, it's for someone who prides themselves on doing the homework and studying and analysing. That's basic. That's really, really basic. We as a channel, us three lads and people at home, just normal folk, we would know that. We would know that. We were talking about Jarrad Branthwaite. We would know that Jarrad Branthwaite is the one who you mark in the box. When he's in and around that penalty box, you put either your tallest players, your centre backs, because they're obviously used to defending. They're the ones that go on the main threats, not your central midfielders who are 5'8", maybe 5'9". You don't put a 5'8", 5'9" midfielder on a 6'5", 6'6" centre back who's very good in the air. You just don't. You just don't do that. Even if we were playing 11 aside, 5 aside, if a corner was coming in, you wouldn't, put your smallest man on the tallest centre back, would you? You just wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. But yeah, decent corner in, decent flick on. Not much Pope could have done about that one. Actually, one thing I will say. I thought we'd have players on the posts. No players on the posts. But again, maybe we've moved away from that and I've not noticed that. But if there was a player on the post, the ball doesn't go in. But maybe I'm being pedantic there.
A lot of teams don't do that anymore, Chris.
Yeah.
A lot of teams don't have players on the post now. Is they do man for man and zone up.
Right, boys, let's continue on. 29 minutes, J7 header. Easily held by Pickford. 30 minutes, Alanga shot straight at Pickford. Tactical switch by Eddie then. Big Nick Gordon and J7 all did a bit of a switcheroo. 31 minutes, Ramsey has a pop after a great pass from Tonali. It comes off Braithwaite and it is a goal for Newcastle. 1-1. Back in it, or so we thought. Thoughts on Ramsey's goal, Pete?
Yeah, we around that goal started to have a little bit of sustained bit of pressure around that time, and it needed a bit of luck. It needed someone to take a punt because we still weren't creating hardly any chances in the game. That seemed to be a common theme throughout our 96 minutes or whatever it was. And I'm glad it fell to the man that was really the only one that was doing anything of any note on the pitch for Newcastle, Jacob Ramsey. I thought he was good again. Absolutely distraught to lose him at half-time. Clearly unwell. But he was our best player. He was the only one that was playing with any form of intensity, was the only one that was looking after the ball properly, trying to get it in advanced positions. And I'm glad that it fell to him. And he was able to get his second goal for the club. That could only be a good thing for him. And hopefully it's not long-term, whatever his illness is, and that he's back playing on Wednesday because we absolutely need him. Good goal. At that point, I think the reaction told you everything you need to know, is that he was almost like to the crowd, come on, let's go. Back to the halfway line. He was ready to rock and roll again because, as I say, he was our leading light and he was the one that was trying to lead by example and got the goal. A little bit of a deflection. Yeah, I mean, I think if anyone's drew a little bit of a look, it's Jacob Ramsey taking a shot, and yeah, it was a good goal to score at a good time. But yeah, I'm going to be disappointed all over again, Daz, when you carry on talking after Chris.
Yes. Chris, your thoughts on Ramsey's goal first?
Yeah, decent strike. It turns out we had 2 deflected goals today. But yeah, I was pleased with Jacob Ramsey. He struck it well. And yes, the deflection did help. It came off Jarrad Branthwaite, funnily enough. But yeah, it was a decent strike. I think it would have tested Pickford anyway, but obviously the deflection then took it away from Pickford and meant that we were able to equalise. But as of the story of today, we didn't hang on long enough, did we? We didn't. We got hit with a sucker punch twice when we scored. So yeah, pleased for Jacob Ramsey. Hope he's okay. Obviously, you could see that he clearly wasn't well. But yeah, good. I was pleased for Jacob Ramsey to get on the score sheet.
Well, Chris, I'm going to come back to you again in a second, because then 32 minutes later, Everton back ahead again. Pope makes a mess of things, absolute mess of things after a McNeil shot. Pope lays it on the plate to Beto, who finishes it. No Newcastle player following up, but Pope should have handled that, or at least pushed it out. He becomes the villain for this one. It is 1-2 then to Everton. Chris, your thoughts on that goal?
I'm gonna start. I'm gonna give Mike. Mike's in the chat as we thought he'd.
That's Mike.
I'm gonna give Mike his moment here. Question for the lads: why didn't you play John Muzzy with him being your best goalkeeper? I'm not even going to answer that, Mike. But you have the reaction there. But we did give you some sticks, didn't we, on the away days? But it's diabolical. Simply, it's diabolical. There's no excuse, boys. I'm sorry, there's no excuse. I went off on a little rant, didn't I, in our WhatsApp group. But this is nothing new, boys. This is nothing new. Unfortunately, we've spoken about this countless times. Not taking anything away from Dwight McNeil's shot. It was half decent. I wouldn't even say it was particularly challenging. It's at a nice height for Pope. I've watched the replay from behind Pope. It's not bobbling. It's not difficult, in my opinion, for a professional goalkeeper in the Premier League. There's nothing difficult about the save for me. So all he has to do is keep hold of it. If, as you rightly say, Daz, there's any kind of hesitation, any doubt, any worry, any concern, you push it out. Just push it out. Get your body behind it and push it out. But instead, he ends up fumbling it, and then he pushes it into the most dangerous area on the whole pitch. The one place you're taught from growing up as a goalkeeper, do not put the ball back into the danger area. If you're going to push it out, get it out. Let it go for a corner, let it go for a throw-in, whatever it may be. Just get it away from the goal. But no, he puts it back in the danger area. And you could argue, that the defenders were slow to react and Beto reacted quickest. Fair enough. But the ball shouldn't be there. The ball should not be there. The ball should be out. The ball should be gone. He either collects it and keeps hold of it, or he pushes it out. If he's not confident or there's any issue, you get rid of the ball. You do not put the ball back in the danger area. But there's no need for me to say any more on it, because unfortunately this isn't going to change and this isn't going away. This is a fundamental problem. It's a fundamental problem, but we've known about this problem now for a couple of years, boys. And until we bring in that new number one, we're going to continue to have these problems. Nick Pope's a nice guy. Nick Pope does many things very, very well. But there's certain aspects of his game which are not good enough. And today, prime example.
Yeah, we as we said before, we definitely need a new keeper in the summer, and a world-class keeper like was on display the other side, Mike. But Pete, your thoughts on that one, on Everton second?
I'll read you what I put in the Mags Down South chat at precisely 3:36 this afternoon. Pope fucked up. It's a bread and butter save. Fucking shit.
Yeah.
That was my response.
Yeah.
Absolute joke. Defenders shouldn't need to react. They shouldn't need to. That save should have been saved all day long. It's a save that you'd make in a training session, just like that. He didn't overarch. He didn't go too far. His handling's just shocking handling of the ball. To go and make a save and to push it back into the middle of the goal for a tap in, it's unforgivable. It is unforgivable goalkeeping.
Yeah.
If I hadn't already had enough of Aaron Ramsdale, I'd have dragged Pope half time. I'd have dragged him for that alone. Honestly, if I I just don't want to see Ramsdale in goal because his shot stopping's worse than Pope's, which is why I don't want him in the team. I don't care about what he does with his feet. He ain't good with shot stopping, right? And that's the only reason for me that Pope would still be coming out in the second half. That in itself needs to get a goalkeeper dragged. And I'm sorry, right? If I'm a player, I don't care whether he's in the leadership group or not. I'm calling that shit out. I'm saying, what the hell are you doing? You are letting the team down, making stupid mistakes. This is our team right now, making stupid mistakes and allowing teams to get back in the game. There was no Everton brilliance. There wasn't no quality there. It wasn't outstanding play or work to work that. It was a tap-in because of our mistakes, because we couldn't do our job properly. In this situation, Pope couldn't do his job properly. We couldn't get the right markers to mark the right centre-back with set pieces. It's our mistakes, not their brilliance, our mistakes. It was a gift. We get 2 gift wrapped with a bow on top, maybe a little sprinkles, and just handed those 2 goals to them. That's what we've done today. It's an absolute joke. I'm done with goalkeepers at Newcastle United. Wipe the slate clean. All 4 of them need to go. Pope, gone. Ramsdale, go back to Southampton. Ruddy, go. Gillespie, got the best job in the world. Get out of here. We need to wipe the slate clean. We need to start again. This is not good. It's an absolute joke that this has happened.
No. You're right, Pete, and it is no wonder that Ramsey was puking at halftime after seeing that replay, I'm sure, of the howler. But 37 minutes, no one able to get onto a proper header on a Gordon cross. When I say a proper header, I mean Big Nick was trying to hit the ball. Halftime, 2-1 or 1-2 even. Everton take the lead, in the ascendancy. Right into that second half. Ramsey takes the field, but then has to come off because he's getting sick. So is Willock that comes on in his place. 46 minutes, Pope save from McNeil shot. 49 minutes, VR looked at a possible penalty for Everton in an exchange between Beto and Hall. There was nothing really in it, and nothing came of it either. Corner was the outcome for Everton. And 52 minutes, Tonali showing some fight and determination to win the ball back, take the team up the pitch, and to win a free kick. For me, Tonali was my man of the match, by the way. Only one showing a bit of passion. 55 minutes, subs. Barnes on, Big Nick Watermeadow off, didn't do anything today, Big Nick. Jacob Murphy on, Alanga off. Gordon goes back up top at this stage. 59 minutes, a Gordon shot is saved. Follow-up is taken off Malik Chow. 64 minutes, Beto somehow keeps the ball in play as Malik Chow lets it run. Or did he keep it in play? Anyway, Beto continues on with the ball. He's in a one-on-one with Nick Pope. He blasts it and he hits the crossbar. Newcastle keep knocking here, but will we be able to pull this back? No. 86 minutes, a poor chip from Barnes floats over the bar. 69 minutes, Willock takes a wayward shot well wide from distance. 74 minutes, subs. Wisa on, trips off. Another reshuffle of the pack from Eddie Howe. 81 minutes, J7 ball to Murphy, and Murphy takes the shot. Takes a deflection. Goal. 2-2. Back in this. We cannot let this slip again. J7 movement makes this one. Thoughts on Murphy's goal, Chris?
Yeah, really great work by Joelinton on the left. Cuts inside, plays a clever pass. Jacob Murphy strikes it really well. I actually thought it went in off Wissa. The commentator thought so as well, and then obviously when I watched it back, it was quite clear that it didn't. I think it might have been Garner Gay, perhaps, that it deflected off. But yeah, again, quite similar actually to the goal in the first half from Ramsey, in that it was a decent shot, had a lot of power on it, and I think it was heading in anyway. But yeah, obviously the deflection meant that it did. But yeah, again, boys, just a complete shot in the foot, because we weren't in front for that long. But yeah, again, that's all I can really say on the goal. Joelinton did really well for it, and yeah, good strike from Murphy.
At this stage, I hadn't seen Murphy's goal. I was looking at our chat, and I was initially liking what I was seeing, and then I definitely wasn't liking what I was seeing. But Pete, your thoughts on Murphy's goal?
I'm going to be honest. I don't even really remember it. I was too busy celebrating because I'll be honest with you. I had no faith of us even getting a goal.
No, I didn't.
In that second half. That game had 2-1 written all over it, because I think it got into sort of like the 80th minute, literally just before Murphy scored. I remember putting in the Mags Down South chat, I was like, have we even worked have we even worked Pickford in the second half? And we hadn't. He hadn't had anything to do. And all of a sudden, Murphy pops up with the goal. And from what I can remember, I haven't looked at it back, but good shot from Murphy, deflection in. I didn't really care how it went in at that point. I was just glad that we'd actually scored, and I thought, right, we maybe have a point on the board. Let's go and try and get 3. I could barely get my breath back from celebrating, and
and as I was talking to you in the chat, I couldn't believe what I was reading, because my stream was so far behind. I couldn't believe you were telling me that Everton had gone and put the ball in the back of the net again. Thierno Barry seemed to stumble with a bit of help from Lewis Hall, but the ball ultimately hits the back of the net to make it 2-3. And I'm going to go back to you, Pete, for that one. I don't even know what happened there, what was going on. It was just so fucking stupid. How are we letting them back in again?
Yeah, again, individual mistakes. There's a reason why Gordon got dragged pretty much straight after that. Pissing around with the ball, gets the ball nicked off him in a dangerous position. They counter, cross into the box. Whether we think it was or not, I wouldn't have been surprised if they gave a penalty anyway, because Hall had caught, it almost tripped up Barry for him to fall and it kind of land on his backside and go into the net. And I just wouldn't have been surprised if the ref or VAR would have given a penalty for it anyway. But again, like, how many times I would love to know how many times I've sat here on a review and talked about Newcastle United not being able to defend after they score a goal. How many times have we gone through this season and we've scored a goal and then we just revert to defense? They had, up until that build-up of our goal from Murphy, they'd had nothing in front of goal. They'd had that one off chance that for me looked out for a throw-in where Beto hit the bar, right? Other than that, they'd done nothing in that second half. Everything was all in the Newcastle attacking half, going towards the Gallagate. So I don't get how Newcastle United could put that much pressure on a team, finally get a goal, and just like that, concede possession and concede a goal. It is absolute classic Newcastle United this season. I don't know what type of mentality some of these players have got. We've got mentality of melts in this team because they do not know how to mentally deal with a situation where we are either drawing or up or we've just scored, because we keep doing it every week. We're doing it all the time. This season, it's been a constant all the way through this season. We either score to go a goal up, we either pull a goal back, right? And then straight down the other end, they go and score. Again, a nothing goal. Not anything magical, not fantastic football. Right? Yes, they won today. But they were rubbish. I'm sorry. They were rubbish today. And they've walked away with 3 points. Fair play to them. I'd be just as buzzing as they are if that was us. But they were rubbish, and we've allowed them to walk out with 3 points. And not just that, to build a considerable gap between us and them. Which, for me, pretty much rules out any form of European football this season. Because I don't see us going on a big enough of a run to be able to claw some of those points back. I just don't see it. I don't see it. This team are just not consistent enough when it matters. We are absolutely a cup team this season. We're a cup team. We turn up in the cup competitions, but we don't know how to, week by week, consistently put performances together. One-off games will turn up, but we're not consistent. It's a massive mental problem in this team. This summer must have done something massively to this football team, to this squad of players. What's gone on this summer must have done something serious, because we have come back a completely different team. Mentally and physically, we are completely different. And it proved it in that moment. We get the goal back with Murphy, and within seconds, bang, it's gone.
Chris, let's get your thoughts. And I do feel sorry in some fashion, Chris, as well, because you're going to have to endure the abuse for your mates. But your thoughts on the winner for Everton?
Yeah, just not good enough, is it? Gave the ball away. Anthony Gordon messed around with it, as Pete says. Kind of summed up his day, really. Another lacklustre performance from Anthony Gordon. When it mattered, you know, and I keep using this phrase, but I'm only quoting what Anthony Gordon said, and that's mentality monster. Didn't see that today, not at all. Not doubting his work rate, but it's as if his head goes. But yeah, messing around with it where he shouldn't be. And yeah, again, to say Pete's right, I think it would have been a penalty if the ball hadn't gone in the back of the net. But again, it's putting ourselves in that position. Everton, I don't think Everton played particularly well today. I think they showed a lot of grit, a lot of determination, a lot of fight, a lot of spirit. And ultimately, it's got them 3 points today. But again, it's errors on our part. It's the Pope Howler. It's having 5'8", 5'9" Tonali marking 6'5" Jarrad Branthwaite. It's Anthony Gordon messing around with it, 30 yards out, and then all of a sudden we're outnumbered. And I think it was Dewsbury Hall who put the ball in across the box. Too easy, in my opinion. And then, yeah, Beto's got to do is just throw his body, Thierno Barry it was, throw his body at it. So, yeah, just not good enough. And I'm sure we'll get into it shortly, boys, but in terms of overall and where it leaves us. But, yeah, just such a disappointing, downhearted performance. And I think Pete's right when he talks about us being a cup team, which is very, very disappointing. It almost feels, boys, and I've never thought this up until now, but sometimes when you watch your team or you watch players and you think, they're not giving it 100% or they're not, and I'm not suggesting they're not trying, but what I mean is I wonder whether mentally they've just switched off in the Premier League and they just know that the league's done. And I did think that today. I really, really thought that today. And the thing that irritated me most was the fact that in the last 15, 20 minutes, it's all gung-ho. Oh, let's try and win. What about the previous 70? What about the previous 70? Where's this endeavour coming? All that did was just irritate me. It just irritated me because I thought if we'd started the game like this, we could have been 2 or 3 up. But instead, we turn on at the end of the game. The game's done. The game's done. Yeah, it's just
Chris,
so disappointing.
where it leaves us is where it's 85 days to the 24th of May till the season is over. Bring it on. 85 minutes. Gordon is off. Asula is on. 93 minutes. Now this is at this stage we could have still gotten a point from the game because Tonali with an absolute thunder bastard of a volley. It was a superb volley from Sandro Tonali, but Jordan Pickford equally with a world class save. It deserved a goal from Tonali, but well done, Jordan Pickford. I have to say that it was just unbelievable and fair play. But then there was we'll get your thoughts on this at the end, boys. But yeah, no Pino at the end as well. I kind of turned it off. I knew the game was over at my stream. I was 5 minutes behind. But full time 2-3. Congratulations to Everton. Not a good day for Newcastle. Thoughts as we wrap up on the actual game, boys? We can go to questions as well.
I'll just talk about just the Sandro Tonali chance and the save. Everything about that moment was world class. The run from Tonali, the execution of the volley. He couldn't have done it any better. He couldn't. I don't think he'll hit a ball any sweeter than that. It was a perfect strike, but it was also a world class save. It was a perfect save from Jordan Pickford. Mike's argument, as much as we banter on these preview shows about Jordan Pickford, etc., the reality is that we know he's right in both situations. We know that our goalkeepers are shite, but we know, as much as we don't like to say it because he's Sunderland, we know that Jordan Pickford is quality. He is a quality goalkeeper. He is. As much as I hate saying it, and as much as I cheer him on when he's playing for England through gritted teeth, I know he's quality. He produces moments like that. He produces mistakes like Hill Dickinson, but he produces moments like that. That's what makes him a top class goalkeeper. It's a world class save. It's a save that not many other goalkeepers in the Premier League, if any, make. He's got that in his locker. And that was it. That was the moment. If we were ever getting anything back in the game, it was that. But again, it should not come down to that moment. It should not come down to a moment of brilliance from Sandro Tonali to try and rescue us a point. It shouldn't have. We should never have been in that position. And ultimately, lads, as I tweeted out, literally as the final whistle went, if there was ever a game that painted a picture of this season of Newcastle United, this was it today. This is Newcastle United in a nutshell, 25-26. This is our season right now. Is that we're just not good enough. We're just not good enough to be where we want to be. And we show moments of quality to give us some hope that we're there. And then it gets snatched away from us because of our inability to do things right, our individual mistakes, and just the fact that, I'll be honest with you, lads, some of these players are just not good enough to play where we want to play. Some of them have maxed out. Some of them have shown they can play at that level and put a season together, but they're just not there. They've already hit their peak. There are some players in this team that have already hit their peak, and it's time to go. It is time to go. And some of them are on the decline significantly. We know who we are. We know who they are. We don't need to say names. We know who those players are that need to be moved on. And Eddie Howe is going to have to do something that he doesn't normally do. He's going to have to make wholesale changes this summer because there are players already leaving on free transfers that will leave the club. But he is going to have to move on players that are still contracted to this club if he really wants to move this squad and this team on. Changes have to be made because we cannot continue on another season with some of the players that we've got in this team because it's just not good enough. It's a hindrance to us. It's a big hindrance to where we want to be. And I just want to touch on one point that you made, Chris, because I think it was a real interesting one when you talked about the players mentally checking out with the Premier League. I'm questioning whether the club's checked out with the Premier League. I'm the club as a whole. I mean, top to bottom, including the manager. I get. You know what I get? I get Spurs vibes. I get Chelsea vibes from them. I get that this club either wants Champions League or nothing at all. They want Champions League because that's where the money's at, but they don't want the extra games in the Europa League and they don't want the extra games in the Conference League. I'm getting that vibe. I'm not getting that determination to go, we want to be playing in Europe, whatever European competition it is. We need to be playing in Europe. We need to make sure we're playing European football every single year. I get the feeling and looking at it and going, I don't really want to travel to these random places on a Thursday night in the Conference League, even though we could win it. Don't really fancy it. Too much on the squad. I get that vibe right now from this team because that performance there was not a performance of a team that was desperate to get European football, that knew that they had to win that in order to be in the frame for European football in one way, shape, or form. That's what I get my feeling in. And that's how I feel right now. They may well turn up for Man United because it's Man United on Wednesday. They may well turn up because of who we're playing against. But it won't, in my opinion. Well, I say won't. I'm still, the jury's still out for me whether they actually want European football or not. I'm not too sure after that performance today. They need to really show me something the rest of this month that makes me think that they actually want European football. Because I'm not too sure they do.
No, that's an interesting point, Pete. Be plenty of time for training then, though, wouldn't there? Eddie Howe loves a bit of training. And just referencing back to your picture, Pete, a picture of the season. Just breaking news. This is the picture of our season.
Absolutely.
Chris, Anthony, you want to say in closing remarks on this one?
Yeah, just to touch on a couple of Pete's points, really. You know, I found myself at the end of that game just thinking we're just not good enough. We're not good enough. And I think I combine that with not being good enough, but also checking out. And like I say, that it was really, really evident to me today. I don't know why. And somebody in the chat, actually, Pete, I don't know if you noticed it. I thought I'd started it, but perhaps I didn't. Someone in the chat said that Craig Hope had mentioned that apparently internally within the club, it's
up on my feed. I'll just put it up on.
Oh, go on, mate. Yeah.
It just popped up just as you were saying it, and I was like,
yeah. Craig Hope has said, for anyone listening on Spotify or anything like that, Craig Hope has said they've told him they don't want Europa Conference League behind the scenes.
There you go. I've not even seen that from Craig Hope, so I don't know when he said it, but this is what I said. That performance, it did absolutely. They did not show any sort of desperation that they needed to win this game because they want to be playing European football next season. They know in their minds that Champions League's gone. They know there isn't enough games to put together unless they won every single one of them that would give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
They'd have to go on a Man U run and win 6, 7, 8 games in a row, which Newcastle United are not going to do in the Premier League. They are not going to go to Chelsea and win. They're not going to maybe even go to Palace and win. They're not going to go to some of these away grounds and get points. And the rate that we're going, we're not even going to get maximum points in every one of our home games. So, sorry, carry on, mate. But
no, mate. And do you know what? What's interesting? Just from that there, I think it was this one, wasn't it? They don't want Conference League, and it backs up what you were just saying earlier. Because if you go win the FA Cup, you're in the Europa League. The club know we're not getting Champions League. That's clear, especially after today. It's clear, and I mean, even before today. Let's be clear. It was obvious we weren't going to be getting Champions League. If they don't want Europa Conference, if you go and win the FA Cup, you automatically qualify for the Europa League. Now, would a trophy, an FA Cup and Europa League qualification suffice? Of course it would. Of course it would. It'd be a great season, but it does. You know, I looked. Funnily enough, I had a quick look at the league table a few minutes ago. But I was thinking to myself, thank God we're on 36 points. 36 points, because it does feel like, you know, the club are throwing all their eggs into the Champions League basket, all their eggs potentially into the FA Cup basket, depending on how we get on against Manchester City. You know, and in a one-off game, there's no reason why we can't turn up and do that. But yeah, this league is done. This league is just completely done. And Daz, you've been saying it for God knows how long, haven't you?
I said in November.
Yeah.
After West Ham and Brentford.
But
picking up on your point, and Craig Hope, and what Peter said, that means then there's 4 games left this season. Only one in the league is Sunderland, right? Even though for me, I want to beat Man United. I always do. Then the 2 against Barcelona and the 1 against Man City. Now, okay, if we carry on out of the into the further into the Champions League or further into the FA Cup, great. There's more than 4, but at the moment there's 4 games left in the season.
Yeah. And you know what? Look, to touch on my first point, about the players not being good enough, and there's been a few questions in the chat. We might get to them. People have been asking, do we need a big summer overhaul? We need a huge summer overhaul, a huge one. And like Pete said, there's no point going through all the players. I think we all know who the players are. But we need a huge summer overhaul. And I think that's become evident. It's very, very clear to me, very, very clear. There's players who are just simply not good enough. And, if we aspire to be that Champions League team, if we want to kick on and be that club, I just hope that going forwards, we're not, almost a yo-yo club in terms of the Champions League. That club that qualifies for Champions League, has a really good Champions League, really enjoys it, earns loads of money, and knows the following season, probably not going to get it. I just hope that we're not going to be that club, and that we end up bringing the squad up to a certain standard or a level where we can consistently get into the Champions League every season. Now, it's very, very difficult to do that. I do know, and I appreciate that. But you only have to look at Man United this season. Man United have taken risks. They brought in some big players for big money, and it's been a standard joke, hasn't it, that Man United have played the least amount of games like ever, been knocked out all the cup competitions nice and early, and they've just been able to focus on the Premier League and look at the position it's put them in. And I just wonder whether it's just a case of let's just wipe this season off in terms of the Premier League, and let's focus on that FA Cup game, and let's focus on the Champions League and see how far we can get in that. Which is sad for me. I think it's sad because for the fans who are turning up week in, week out and watching performances like that, I don't think it's good enough. I really don't. But
it isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. Serious. There needs to be a sit down in the summer, and root and branch needs to be looked at here, and what direction this club is going in. And I still laugh when I think of what that CEO said: 2030 be the best of the best. How the fuck is that going to happen? If he said 2040, he'd still have the challenge on his hands, but 2030.
And this is why I said it was ridiculous at the time with that.
Yeah.
Why I said it was ill-timed, and it was a chance to kind of get a cheap rise from the fans in a moment of disappointing results. That type of stance should be made on something more positive, on a big statement, on something a big ground, like a new front of shirt sponsor or a new announcement of a training ground or something that should have been done in the summer. It was poorly timed, which is why that hierarchy brand of David Hopkinson, Ross Wilson's got a lot to prove in the summer. He's got to back his position up massively with players that he brings in. Brad Miller, who was brought in for the stadium and training ground, we still haven't got either of those. They have got big questions to ask. And if we get into this summer and we still get into the start of next season and we haven't got big sponsorships coming in, significant ones, and we haven't got an announcement on a training ground that it's in the works and it's going to be done, then fans are more than justified to put questions to these guys about, are you just, are you a bunch of chancers? Because at the moment, they come across like that. They're all talk with no action. They've done a lot of talking. They've done a lot of talkings. I've seen Pod on the Tyne. I've seen here, there, and everywhere. They did one with the foundation down in London not long ago. They've been at the Stack. They've done all this talking, which is great. But so did Dan Ashworth. So did Darren Eale. And we didn't kick on with those. They did a lot of talking, no action. You've got to put it down. You've got to say you're going to do something and actually do it. We need to follow through with that and make sure that things are getting done. But to kind of give an answer to your point, Chris, earlier, you said you don't want us to be a yo-yo club. But I've been saying that's what we don't want to be since the beginning of the season, which is why Champions League was absolutely crucial. Yeah. But we are absolutely a yo-yo team. We are. Because we're not getting Champions League. And at this moment in time, we're not getting Europe. We are a yo-yo team. So that's what we've now become, because we can't put back-to-back European seasons together. We are just a yo-yo. We only have a good season when we haven't got European competition to play in. What type of attraction is that to top-level players that we want to bring to Newcastle United? What, 1 year we might play Champions League and the next year we probably won't? What player in their right mind would want to come to a team like that? They want to come to a team knowing that we're going to be in that conversation, not always guaranteed. It'll be down to performances, but knowing that we are going to be in that conversation across the board, and in that conversation whilst juggling European football too.
Yeah,
we're not capable of doing that, clearly, as it was proven 2 years ago and as it's proven this season. So we are absolutely a yo-yo club. And it's on the club and it's on everybody else to make sure manager, right? I know sometimes we hold off on the manager. Manager has a big say this season, this summer. Eddie Howe has to do something he doesn't normally do. He likes to hoard players. He likes to keep hold of players for as long as he possibly can and milk them until they're dry. Not anymore. Some of these players need to be, okay, we're going in a different direction. I'll give you one example. Nick Pope. Next season, you're number 2. Do you want to stay at Newcastle United and be number 2? If not, go find yourself another club. That's the only example I'm going to give you. And that's the example right there that needs to happen with a number of players, because we need to improve. Because we cannot have more seasons like this, because this is the joke. It's a really poor season for Newcastle United, and it's a joke because I might get some people in the chat going, "Oh yeah, but look where we were, this, that, and the other." Well, it's a joke because we spent 250 million to improve this team, and we've got worse on the back of it. There's no point is laughing and pointing fingers at Liverpool for spending 500 million like we were earlier on in the season. 500 million, not even in Champions League. Well, they're turning it around now. They're getting results without their British record striker. And they're now on the same points as Aston Villa, I believe, or close to.
Yeah.
And in that conversation for Champions League, probably won't get it. Yes, they had aspirations for Premier League, but their minimum was Champions League football, and they're well on the way to getting that. So we can't laugh at them and point fingers at them when we spent 250 million to improve this squad. And we, by the end of this weekend, could be sitting in 14th. Because if Brighton and Crystal Palace win their games, we are in 14th. Just let that sink in, people. Because I'm not happy about that. I think it's disgusting.
You referenced a yo-yo, Pete, and are we the yo-yo? And who is pulling the strings? Because these guys need to step up here and do something. What are they doing in the background? Chris, let's go to some questions.
Yeah, let's have some questions, mate. Firstly, DXLE, thank you very much for becoming a member, mate. Much appreciated. Top man. We have some super chats, actually, so I'll go to
massive Alex Murphy fan is DXLE, by the way.
Top guy. Tino's been a member for 6 months, so thank you, Tino. And Tino has utilised his option of a question, so we're gonna pop that in there. Tino has said, "Lads, what could be an ideal target next season?" Now, I'm assuming Tino's referring to, the overall for the season, Daz. But what would you say the ideal target is next season?
Next season has to be Champions League. If we're not in any European competition, has to be Champions League. And if Eddie Howe is the manager next season, If he doesn't get Champions League, it'll be the same as last season. If he doesn't get Champions League, he's gone. For me, he's done. I know people are going to say they want him gone this summer, but I have a feeling that's not going to happen. And if he's not getting Champions League next season, with not being in European competition, he has to go. Look, it's a no-brainer.
Pete, I'm going to ask you this one. I think I know your answer is going to be, but it's from Peter McCardle. Thank you very much for your super chat, Peter McCardle. And Peter asks you, Pete, fellow Pete, Europe is gone. Lose to the Mackhams, and I hope Eddie is gone. Do you think? Well, I know what you're going to say, but tell us your thoughts on that one, Pete.
If we don't beat Sunderland, or God forbid, if we lose to Sunderland, you are going to see the biggest outcry for Eddie Howe out across social media, stadiums, the lot. Bigger than what we had against Brentford. You are going to see it. I'm not saying that as my stance, because as you know, what I'm going to say is I don't think Eddie Howe leaves. I think they keep him in charge. I think they, unless he walks away in the summer and takes another job, I think he'll be here at Newcastle United. I don't think he'll go anywhere. I think it's all on his decision. But I don't think the club will sack him. But if we do not beat Sunderland or we lose to Sunderland, it is going to be heavy. Sunderland cannot come out of St. James's Park with anything, not even a point. I think that's how a lot of Newcastle fans feel right now. After what they had to endure back in December, they will not allow Sunderland to leave St. James's Park with anything but 0 points. And that needs to be the message to the players. That needs to be the message to the manager. They have to win that match as a bare minimum. Forget Barcelona for a second. Forget Man United. Forget any other game for this season. That is, for a lot of Newcastle fans now, the biggest game of the season because of what rides on it. Local rivalry is now overriding thoughts of Champions League football, European football, etc., because all of it's dwindling away. So that's the only thing that fans have got to hold on to now, is beating Sunderland. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way, but it is. And it's starting to become a bigger feel within the fan base. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. No, I can see why, mate. And I think we all feel very, very similar. Chegmeister, he's fuming. Thank you for the super chat, Chegmeister. Chegmeister is fuming. He says, I love Howe, but he's proven he can't manage Europe and the Premier League. Get a manager who can. Players need to take a look at themselves too. Pathetic. Yeah. Today, Chegmeister was pathetic. I think that word sums it up very, very nicely. I think today was pathetic. And in terms of Eddie Howe, that will be an interesting conversation depending on what happens between now and the end of the season. I do think that will play a key part. Ivar, thank you very much, Ivar, for becoming a YouTube member, a loaded ultra. Much appreciated, mate. And then we've got 2 super chats from our good friend Jeannie Van Alden. Jeannie, I think he's referring to AFTV here. I could be wrong, but Jeannie says, "Daz, we made better when Barry looked good. I'm tired, Robbie." I think that's a saying from AFTV. Could be.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, we did. We made it look good. Like, we definitely made Beto look good. Fucking hell, we made him look like the Brazilian Beto. But yeah. I don't know. Like even Mike was saying before our game. I remember clicking on something to do with Mike, and he was like saying they have no strikers basically. Barry is one for the future. Let's say he's not hitting the ground running yet, but yeah, Beto looked. Our defense was shocking today. Right across the board, including the keeper. I thought our defense was desperate. Even Lewis Hall wasn't up to the races today. It wasn't his usual self. And usually he's the one that shines out. But and Malik Chow, he gave that stupid pass that he nearly let Beto win as well. Desperate. The only one for me that did anything of note was Sanders Tonali. Ramsey as well in the first half did well, but Sanders Tonali was the only one.
over the full game, I would say definitely Sandro. But I would say even in the first half, I thought Ramsey did more in the game to affect the game than Tonali. But over the course, I thought Sandro came into his own second half. Some of his recovery runs, I thought he was aggressive in his tackle. He was really tenacious in going about his business defensively. I thought he did really well and could have scored a worldie. So yeah, I think that's fair. That's more than fair.
Yeah, just to add in, boys, before I go to the next super chat, I did start it. It was from DXLE, and DXLE wrote this earlier. He said, even if we had 10% chance of European football, we have 0% chance now. Craig Hope said behind the scenes they would prefer not to even be in the Conference League. They've told him, the club. Yeah, I knew I'd seen that somewhere. So thank you for that, DXLE. Let's see.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
Just when you mentioned, like, we've Craig Hope that has come out and talked about the training ground. We have Luke Edwards who's come out and talked about the new stadium. They've come out with them with aggressive kind of articles on it, but we've got nothing concrete from the club to back this up. And also that's saying that these things are still they haven't made a final decision on them. So it's a bit like pathetic that we're still waiting to hear confirmation of any of these things, or what is the plan here? What is the game that they're playing? Still haven't, for me, PIF still haven't laid down a marker of what are they here to stay or not.
I'll add in. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right with regards to that. The reason why it's taken so long. This should have been worked on, particularly the training ground. Stadium's slightly different. The training ground, there was no reason why a plot couldn't have been identified and things could have got moving. They could have still improved the training ground existing as it was. If they'd have got straight to work on making it a world-class facility and getting that done early doors, right, we could have been in one right now. Sandro, Bruno, Isaac, even last season, could have been sitting and training in a world-class facility if they'd have gone about their business. They knew it was championship standard at best before they even took over the club. That should have been first point of call. And that would have had the lesser of the two of red tape to get through, which is why I'm not pushing so much with the stadium, because there is pushback. There is lots of red tape to get through because of where they want to build it and because they want to still keep it next to or close to the city centre. They want to try and keep it within what fans want. So it is going to take longer. They could have just gone and found another plot somewhere else in Newcastle, which fans would have had to travel out the city to go and do it like West Ham have to do and other clubs have to do. They have to travel away from their area to go and watch a game. They could have done that. So the stadium I've not got an issue with, but the training ground, there was no excuse. There's no excuse. We should not be 4 years in and the training ground not already be in place, or at least be half built by now.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for that. That is absolutely on the ownership for not actioning that quick enough. That for me needs to be done like now. We need to be getting that announced that that's happening now and groundwork being started. They need to be finding the fastest routes, the fastest timeframes to get that done, because it's a big seller. And not just a big seller to players, right? It's a big seller for potential sponsorships and additional revenue avenues that we can maximize. So it has all of that added to it. It's a no-brainer. I mean, the game changer really is the stadium. And look, Chris, we were in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and we said exactly that thing sitting in there when we were in the hospitality and we were looking around and going, how does no fan want this? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable facilities, unbelievable stadium, and the revenues that smash through. That's the difference. Tottenham are having a shite season, right? But they know they can come back and still go and spend a load of money in the summer and not have to worry about PSR because their stadium, the stadium literally saves them from the crap every single time.
My blue mate messaged me, when was it? Was it Friday? Yeah, it was either Friday or Thursday of this week. And he sent loads of articles to me. And it was all about the huge revenue income that they're getting from the Hill Dickinson. And that they're going to be spending upwards of 200 million in the summer. because they've got the money to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Right, boys. Let's have a quick nose. I'm going to come to Chipper's one in a minute. I'll come to Genie Astor again. And Daz, I know you've got to shoot in a minute, mate, so I'll fire this one at you. Genie asks you, Daz, it sets a bad precedent by rewarding a goalkeeper who fucks up. Now, I don't know whether he's referring to, Nick Pope only having a year left on his contract. I don't know whether he's referring to, giving Ramsdale a start in place of Nick Pope. I'm not sure which one he means. But what are your thoughts on the goalkeeper position? We know Pete's thoughts. Pete mentioned it earlier. What's your overall thoughts?
Yeah, I'm with Pete. What Pete said. I would have. I thought the same in game. Jesus, I'd nearly bring on Ramsdale, but then I thought, gee, Ramsdale, no. I want Ramsdale to get sent back to Southampton as well. He's not good enough. And Mike alluded to the first time he was on with us, alluded to the same. We thought we had to give him a chance, and we did, and it's not really worked out. We definitely need a new goalkeeper. But who you got? Do you drop Pope now for the next game and bring in Ramsdale? I don't know. It doesn't really matter now. If what Craig Hope is saying, I really want to beat Man United on Wednesday, but if we're giving up on the season, I just don't know. And but on that note, I'm going to go because I've got a family event that I need to get on the road for. Sorry, boys. Thanks, Chatters, for tuning in. And boys, see you out the show.
I'm gonna give a little spoiler. So I don't know if you want to hang on for this. Before I leave, I'm gonna give you a spoiler because I said to you I wasn't going to tell you my goalkeeper, but I am. I'm going to tell you because I've had enough with our goalkeepers, and I'm sure everyone else has. I'm going to put the picture on of the guy that I want is to go and pay the money, whatever it is. No, it isn't. Who is also a very good goalkeeper. Some people had it in the chat in previous shows. It's this man, Robin Reeser, R.A. Lons in Liga. Go and pay the money to get this elite level goalkeeper at 20 years old. He is the guy that Newcastle United need to go and get. An elite shot stopper. An elite shot stopper. Better than Pope, in my opinion. Commands his area. Got a ridiculous amount of clean sheets this season with RC Lons. And as well, he's good with his feet. He's not Edison, but we don't need him to be. But he's good with his feet. Everyone else were waxing lyrical when Alan St-Maximin scored his first goal for RC Lons the other week. And everyone was going, Maxi scored. That was not what I was looking at. I looked at the assist from Robin Reeser, the kick out that set him free on a counter-attack, pinpoint accuracy to Alan St-Maximin. He is the guy. I've been watching him for months. He is an unbelievable young goalkeeper. What is he, 20 years old? Some people have said Restes and a few others. Nah, this guy's better. He'll be world-class. And PSG will rue the day that they got Chevrolet and they didn't get this guy. Go and get the money and get him to Newcastle United this summer.
Love it.
See you later, boys. Have a good one.
Take care, Dazzler. Yeah, love it. And we absolutely need a new goalkeeper, Pete. We really, really do. And that should be one of the priorities in the summer. It really should. We've got a decent defensive line. We have, with the likes of Tina Livramento, Lewis Hall, Sven Botman, Malik Chow, and then if you have, the likes of if we keep them, Dan Burn as an understudy, Fabian Schär as an understudy, potentially Kieran Trippier as an understudy. If we give him another year, bring in an understudy left back, it's not a bad defensive line. If you then go and get an elite goalkeeper who sits just behind them, there's half your battle. And then you can start looking at your midfield and then your forward line. And that's probably for another day, another conversation, I'm sure. But you need a number one. You need a proper number one.
Absolutely. And he is the guy. He's a guy that I would be more than comfortable enough. I'm a bit unsure with young goalkeepers, but I would be more than comfortable enough with him coming into our team and being our number one straight away. And to answer John Webber, he's going to Chelsea, not in my opinion, because equally Chelsea have in their stable another potential world-class elite goalkeeper Belgian goalkeeper in Mike Penders, who's currently playing for Strasbourg. 6'6" unit of a goalkeeper, fantastic goalkeeper, young goalkeeper as well. He'll be the next one at Chelsea. They won't be going for Robin Reeser. We need to be going for Robin Reeser. We need to put, if we're going to invest significantly in a position, it has to be there, because that is a huge problem for Newcastle United that needs to be addressed this summer.
How much would it cost, Pete? Do you know?
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, RC Lens are currently in a position where they're fighting near the top of Liga. So, it isn't out the norm that a team like RC Lens or someone gets European football or Champions League and still lose a couple of big players. Kusanov's an example of that. You know, Man City were able to plug him out. But again, we might have to pay a little bit more than normal. Now, currently, I mean, his market value at the moment is low. It's at like 9 million. There's no way that Lens are going to sell for anything like that. It'll be significant. You're talking maybe 30 plus, 30. Between 30 and 40, I think, will give RC Lens and certainly something to consider. But what you're doing is you're completely ending a conversation on a position that's been a huge issue in this team all season. We've had problems. Pope's made clangers after clanger after clanger, howler after howler, and then been replaced by Ramsdale. Ramsdale was okay for a couple of games, and then he's made clamours, and he's been awful, and question marks of should he save that, should he save this. Pope's come back in and done okay, and now he's making mistakes again. And we've just been back and forth with these two goalkeepers. We don't trust Ruddy. Gillespie's not even in the squad. You know, it's a joke position right now that needs to be properly addressed. And Eddie Howe needs to grow a backbone with some of these players and go, look, you've done great for me over the years. You've been a loyal servant, but I'm sorry, we have to move forward. You're going to be 34 this year. We need to move forward with a new goalkeeper. So if you want to fight for your place, feel free. But we're bringing in a goalkeeper that is likely to be our number one. Do you want to stay, Nick Pope, or do you want to leave? Give him the option. Cash in. You still get a decent amount of fee for him. Maybe even put that fee towards a goalkeeper. And then you go and get a goalkeeper and a half-decent understudy, and then we move forward. We're going to have to do it. We're going to have to do it. And today, again, it's just highlighted that issue further and further and further.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't start the season, Pete, with either Ramsdale or Pope as number one. We can't. I don't think we will with Ramsdale. I think he will go back to Southampton. But if Nick Pope starts the season in number one, you know, I'm going to have serious reservations. I really, really will. I think it is time for them to move on. On the subject of players, Pete, and we didn't really touch on this player very much, probably for obvious reasons due to the performance, but Chippers, who's been a member for 48 months. Thank you, Chippers. Good to see you in the chat, mate. Chippers says, feel for Nick wasting him in central midfield, all to play Gordon. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I agree. I agree, Chippers. I do feel sorry for him a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't have played him today. I didn't think it. I think we talked about it on the preview show. And I'm not sure if I asked the question. It might have been after the show. I can't remember. But I remember saying, you know, is this the game for Voltemada this week? Obviously, height-wise, yes, he would be in the team for that reason. But Everton's style doesn't suit his style. And playing him in that midfield, I did feel sorry for him because he was just ineffective. He just looked like a lost puppy or a lost dog. He's a lot bigger, but he just looked lost. He just looked lost, and I felt sorry for him because I knew you knew what was going to happen before it happened. And if I knew, and you knew, Chris, and everyone else in the chat knew, he would have known that at some point in that second half he was getting dragged. He was non-existent. Non-existent, nowhere near the goal. He tried a few flicks and tricks and tried to, you know, travel with the ball and make things happen. But it's so tight. It's so tight. And they make it so compact, particularly in attacking areas, that it wasn't suited to Nick Voltemade. And you know, if we're going to go a three midfield, you know, you go with that bit of explosive pace and someone that can run and carry the ball long distances. And that's why the question is that should Willock be in the team with Ramsey and Tonali and be the guy that can get us up the pitch 30 yards on a counter and use his pace to get in behind? And I'm not saying he's an amazing option. He's not. And he'll be one that will probably move on in the summer as well. But for this game, probably would have been a better option. And I'll say it, and people might not agree, but I actually think, not that he was amazing, but I actually think Willock did more in the time that he was on the pitch in the second half than Nick Voltemade. And that's not me slandering Nick Voltemade. Nick Voltemade is a technically sound player. He's a very good player. And he tries his hardest. He might not look like it because it looks like he's running through treacle sometimes because he's not the quickest. But he's trying. He leaves everything on that pitch. It's one thing you cannot question about Nick Voltemade. He leaves everything on that pitch, and technically he is quality. But it goes back to a conversation that I feel like I'm doing rinse and repeat. Something's going to need to happen in this summer. Eddie Howe's going to have to find a way of making him play in this team and not just have one or two games and then fizzle out for other games where he's a focal point in this team where he is playing well every week. He's going to have to find a way of playing him, or he's going to potentially have to move him on. Or if the manager leaves it and the manager comes in to get the best out of him, one of those two things is going to have to happen. So if Eddie Howe stays and we keep doing this next season, he's going to be wasting his talent, and he's going to be wasting his career, and that's not good for either Newcastle or Nick Voltemade. That's just where. But what do you think based on Nick Voltemade?
Yeah, I think it's crunch time in the summer. I like Nick Voltemade. I think he's technically a very, very good player. I think he's got lots of talent, but in this system, he just doesn't fit. Now, Eddie Howe will say, we've not had time on the training ground. We've not been able to kind of work with him properly. And he has alluded to that a couple of times. But if that's the case, then this summer's going to be huge. If Eddie Howe's still in place, it will be up to Eddie Howe to make that work, as you say, because we can't then go through to next season and be seeing the same. We can't see him in the 9 where it's not quite working. We can't see him in the 8 where it's not quite working. There has to be an evolution. There has to be a change, or potentially Nick moving on. I would like to see us change the way we play in order to accommodate Nick. That's what I would like to see, even if it means potentially sacrificing your wingers. We've spoken, Pete, haven't we, about our wingers not being as effective as they should be. So maybe it's a case of sacrificing the wingers. I mean, we know Nick Voltemade plays in that 9 role, albeit it's slightly what's the word I'm looking for? It's slightly deeper than what it is for Newcastle when he plays in the 9. But they have their wingers, if you like, or their attacking midfielders play in a different way. Florian Wirtz plays obviously for Germany, doesn't he? And he plays in a different way. Serge Gnabry, Leroy Sané. These players all play slightly differently in this German system. So it's not to say that he can't play in the number 9, but he can't play in this Newcastle team in the number 9, evidently. And Eddie Howe's kind of shown that. And I think I did find it quite telling that we made that change after half an hour. And the reason I say that isn't because it was deserved and that it needed to happen, but just the fact that that is not like Eddie Howe. But even Eddie Howe must have been looking at it going, this isn't working. Nick in the 8 was not working. And then he reversed it to the 9. And then it was quickly obvious. Was it 55 minutes he got dragged? That wasn't working either. So, you don't sign a player for upwards of 60 million and then go, he doesn't fit. He doesn't fit the system. And that's not just on Eddie Howe. That's on the management. That's on the people above him. And even though at the time there was no one above him, that's now the responsibility of David Hopkins, Ross Wilson, because they surely will be having these conversations and going, well, what are you going to do about it? What do we need to do about it? How do we fix this? And they're the kind of discussions that need to be taking place, whether that's with or without Eddie Howe.
You're absolutely right. I mean, if you just go back to the striker show that we did around maybe sort of April, May last year, when we looked at different strikers and what we're offering and the strikers that were available, not the ones that we necessarily went for, not just about the ones that we were linked with in the summer, but like the likes of Dusan Vlahovic and one or two others that maybe are on bigger wages, and you would have had to pay them a bigger wage, but were a significantly cheaper transfer fee, and maybe overall would have been cheaper than someone like him that would have maybe have been best fitted. You know, you've got to then ask the scouting networks. We had Champions League football as well to go with that. And some of these players have been sitting on the bench or barely getting any minutes all season for their current clubs that probably would have jumped at the chance of coming to a team like ours. And you look back at it now and you're thinking, there is so much more we could have done. If we'd have had a structure and if we'd have had a proper, effective scouting network, not just scouting over the course of the year, but looking at what's available in the market and going, right, we're under the cosh here, who do we need to go, and weighing up a transfer. Like, they've tried to stick with the structure of signing a young player and developing, etc., etc. That's why we paid so much for him. But ultimately, we could have gone in a different direction, because I think it's quite clear now, even though there was tentative links earlier on in the summer, that he wasn't really on the list until he had to be, until there was nobody else. Once there was nobody else, he had to be on the list. And I think that's where it's kind of come about. We were willing to pay a huge fee for him, and we just got the deal done. And I think there was not much consideration for that. I think at that point they knew that Isak was gone. There was no way back, and they had to sign somebody. And they had to make a high-profile signing to justify that player coming in for Isak leaving. It's almost like the picture of that's been painted had to look okay, but it doesn't look that well now, because we're playing him in midfield and he's not playing well. He doesn't look like scoring goals at all in game, which is why I think he was so desperate to get that penalty in Karabag.
Yeah.
And we're in a difficult situation. We're very much at a crossroads with Nick Voltemada, and it's really difficult to see. There was a couple of other super chats. I'll throw one at you.
Yeah, go for it, mate. Let's go for it.
From Friday, he put question: if Voltemada was normal size, would we think he's a really good technical player? Because we keep referring to him as a good technical player for his size. Would we think he's a good technical player if he was, say, around 6 foot?
Like us.
Yeah. 6 foot club. You know it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I still think I would. Because I do think, I mean, it's a fair point Farden's made. It is absolutely a fair point. But yeah, I still do think with his feet, he is very, very good. And he's proven that. You know, we've seen him do it on the international stage. We've seen him do it for Stuttgart in Germany. We know that technically he is a good footballer. But yeah, Farden does raise a good point, because obviously he is incredibly tall. And, but funnily enough, Farden, it's funny you say that, because in the air, I think that's probably where Nick Voltemada's game is lacking the most, because he could utilize his height so much more. Yes, he scored a couple of headers for us. I'm not saying he hasn't, but even when balls get lofted up to him, he doesn't tend to challenge very well for them in the air. So that is an element or part of his game that he does need to work on. But no, I like Nick Voltemada, and I do think there is a really, really good player in there. You don't become Germany's number 9 by accident. I just think that we're not playing to his strengths. And the reason I asked about the wingers, Pete, was because, I look at our wingers. Anthony Gordon, we've already spoken about today. Harvey Barnes, again, not his best cameo when he came on. And then you've got Anthony Elanga, who hasn't hit the ground running. You've got Jacob Murphy, who I think you were alluding to earlier, Pete, and that he's probably reached his ceiling. I think we've probably seen the best from Jacob Murphy. So there's 4 wingers I've just mentioned that aren't quite doing what they need to be doing. And you do find yourself thinking as well, are we overlooking the wingers here? Are we overlooking what our wingers are producing at the minute? Yes, we've called it out. Yes, we've spoken about it. But what I'm trying to say is, would an Alexander Isak, or would a Hugo Ekitike, I'm just naming two strikers there who were obviously linked with us in the summer and who we previously owned. Would they be struggling in this team this season because of the ineffectiveness of our wingers? I don't know. And in fact, Pete, I want to throw another one back at you because a few people in the chat were talking about it. What did you make of Johan Wissa when he come on today?
I don't remember anything he did. I'm being genuine. I'm being genuine there. I mean, if someone please tell me in the chat if they saw something that he did. I mean, look, I was fuming at the time of the result and what was going on anyway. So there was an element of that, but I can't remember anything that stands out for me that he did well. But again, coming off the bench isn't easy. We used to say that for Barnes and Gordon, etc., etc. It's not easy, and he has been out for a while. So I don't want to hammer him too much on that, but didn't look busy enough for me from what I saw. But look, it's. I think to answer your question, I think that an Isak or an Ekatike would still perform in this team, because this team is built for the striker to be able to be the focal point, and I think those two players do need to be a focal point in their teams. And I think Isak would have still scored goals this season. I think Isak would have been on. I think he probably would have been pushing on 20 goals, because it's not like we haven't created chances this season. It's been sometimes the final ball, but I think sometimes it's been the finish, and we know how good he is in front of goal. I think he'd have had a lot more goals this season, not more than last season, but he would have been approaching that, because again, the system was built for him. But I think him not being there, or a player like him not being there, is now exposing the wingers more so. It's exposing Anthony Gordon more so, which is why he's getting more stick when he plays on the left, because he doesn't produce. He isn't creating moments. He isn't a creative spark in this team. You don't say Anthony Gordon's a creative spark, because he's not. He's not consistently creative. Harvey Barnes isn't a creative spark. He's a goal scorer. So you need to find him in positions where he's going to get you goals, but it does point the finger on him and shine the light on him as being a winger, because you're expecting him to create moments for your forward, and he doesn't do it consistently enough. Jacob Murphy, if anyone thought he was going to pull out another season where he was going to get 19, 20 goals and assists, it was never going to happen, really, in all honesty. That was his peak season, and I think he knew it, the club knew it, we knew it deep down. We just hoped he could continue it on, and he hasn't. And what we're seeing now is Jacob Murphy kind of reverting back to type. Some good games, some crap games. Mostly crap games. Scored a goal today, which was needed at that point in time, but isn't really creating big moments for us. And more so than that, is creating problems for us, giving the ball away cheaply, losing concentration in defensive areas and not marking players, and they're exposing us in our defensive areas. And then you've got Anthony Elanga, who's nowhere near the fee that we paid him. So you're absolutely right. It is a huge issue. I've highlighted the goalkeeper situation today, because I feel enough's enough with the goalkeeping situation. But you're actually right. Any one of those four wingers could leave this summer.
Yeah.
And it could absolutely be justified. And the fan base could go. If any one of them leaves, you could go, yeah, I can see why we sold them. You could turn around and go, yeah, I can see why you sold Harvey Barnes. 29 years old, maximise profit. Yeah, he's a goal scorer, but we could reinvest in a left winger and go again. Anthony Gordon, yeah, I can see why we sold him. Doesn't produce enough creativity-wise. Great set-piece taker, penalty taker. But other than that, isn't really what we need. And Anthony Elanga, just a failed transfer. I understand it. And Jacob Murphy, what is he, 31 now? Yeah. Maybe you're starting to decline even from last season. Maybe time now to try and cash in whilst the value may still be there and people are still willing to pay a fee for him. So there's an argument for all four of them. There absolutely is. And I would say, in my honest opinion, all four of them aren't safe from being sold this summer. You could argue that Gordon may want to be sold, depending on the club that's interested, but the other three are not safe from being sold and moved on. And it would absolutely be justified.
It would. Do you know what? I want not to go off on a tangent here, but I want Anthony Elanga to come good. And I know that he's got the raw potential. You know, you can see it. He's got that turn of pace. You know, he can be direct. He can, cause defenders problems. Absolutely, and you can see all of that. But then, if you sit there, Pete, and I'm sure you did today, and you just watch him in general, and it's just that moment where wrong decision. Oh, poor touch. Oh, maybe again later. Oh, next time he'll be all right. And it's just consistently. And people will say it's a confidence thing, and I get that. But when you reach this level, when you've played for Manchester United, when you've played in a really high-performing Nottingham Forest team at the time, when you get that move to Newcastle, it shouldn't be this much of a step up. It really, really shouldn't. And I just have fundamental problems with it, and I just have concerns that are we ever going to see the very best out of Anthony Elanga, or is the very, very best of Anthony Elanga going to be good enough? And I'm just not sure it is. I'm just really, really not sure it is.
And that's where you get to the point you think to yourself, when do you say enough's enough?
Enough's enough.
When do you say, hold on a second, we need to cash in now, or we need to say, yeah, this isn't working.
Write it off.
And you say, do you give him another full season to do that?
Not as first choice, I wouldn't. Not as first choice, I wouldn't.
And a player like that is probably going to have to play regular football if you are going to see anything of that ability. So at what point do you go, we need to take the hit here? Other teams have done it. They've bought players for fees and gone, not worked. Let's move them on. This is why, and going on to another conversation, this is why I say for Jan Wieser, like, I've set my stall out on him now. He could come back and score 10 goals between now and the end of the season. I don't think he will, but he could. But even then, I'm still saying at 30, it's going to be 31 in September. I'm going, if someone in Saudi is looking to revamp their team with all the players that are leaving Saudi, like we talked about a few weeks ago, and they want someone that will come in, take the money and play there and bang loads of goals in, have him. Just cancel out whatever we've paid to Brentford, give us that feedback and take him. I'd even take a little bit of a loss just to move him on. And look, I'm not the hierarchy of the club, but so I'm just giving my fan opinion here. But I would absolutely look to move him on because I don't see it working. I'd love to be wrong, but I just don't see it working.
Do you know what? I like this comment from Daniel Egan. Nobody wants to be as good as much as Elanga himself. It's just that he's never going to be. He needs coached in everything. You shouldn't need to be told when and where to run at this level.
Yeah.
And it's dead frustrating because you're watching him, aren't you? And there's a couple of things I want. Do you know what? It's such a weird feeling, Pete, because I watch him and I think to myself, oh, he was unlucky there. But then in the back of my mind, I'm going, he should have done better there. He has to do better there. That touch wasn't good enough. There was a couple of occasions where he gets the ball on the right wing and the players are overlapping and he's cutting inside, or he gets the ball and he gives it, and you're like, mate, just keep hold of it. Just take your time. Yeah. Like, just look for your pass. You don't have to. It's as if he wants to get rid of the ball, and the reason he's wanting to get rid of the ball is because he doesn't have the confidence, or he doesn't believe he's got the ability.
Yeah, he doesn't know what to do with it.
No.
I think that's what it is, Chris. I think he just doesn't know what to do with the ball in those moments. There was one in the first half. He was one-on-one with Mikolenko, and he was running at him. He was kind of like jinking with his left foot.
He's going to do something. He's going to do something.
But it's like he almost doesn't know what to do with it. And then all he does is just knock it in front of him and try to run. But Mikolenko has already picked up on it, and he's already 2 yards ahead of him. And to be fair, we get the corner for it, which we probably shouldn't have, because I don't think it was a corner.
I know the exact moment you're talking about. And he goes to try to,
but it was like you could see on his face as he's running with it. And I'm looking at him, I'm thinking, you don't know what you're doing here. You don't know what you want to do. Like, if he wants to cut inside, he could have just cut inside and drove on and attack the goal, maybe even pull a shot out with your left foot. Like, I'd go back to that Man City goal. That Man City goal was instinct from him. It was almost like in his mind, it was like, we've lost this game anyway. Fuck it. I'll just go for it anyway. and he did it, and it worked, and it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
This
is good. This is good. Yeah.
That's what you need to do every time. And then we ain't seen it since.
No.
Literally from that goal, we've not seen it again. And it's like, okay, so that's something that was instinctive, not something that you know that you can do on a repeated level. Because he jinks, he cuts in, or he goes down the line, and these players are reading it. These players are, they're Premier League players. They would be, if you're anything worth your salt, you know roughly who you're coming up against. If I'm Mykolenko, I'm looking at videotapes of Elanga and Murphy, thinking that either one of them could be playing. And I'm going, right, this is what they do in this situation. This is what they do. This is what some of the best fullbacks do in the Premier League. They'll look at their opposition and go, right, this is what they tend to do. This is where my body position needs to be. And that's what he did. He just ushered him out. I think he tries. I've got no issue with him trying. There are other players that were worse in the team. I had a conversation with my mate Emeka about this at half time. It was like, and he was right when he said there were other issues in the team that are far greater than Anthony Elanga. And I would say, yeah, I would agree, particularly on this performance today. But actually, it was a problem because we lacked any attacking intent. We needed goals. We needed creativity. And we just had nothing. It was just nothing.
No.
So,
no. Do you know what? Another player we're talking about, Anthony Elanga. Jack Meister's just put go and get Darwin Núñez this summer. That's the striker version of Anthony Elanga. But it's a striker version of Anthony Elanga. When he's natural, when he just does it instinct, you're like, fucking hell. But when he gets a minute, like look at the 2 goals he scored against us. Literally just half a yard, bang. But then you give him the time and the opportunity, and he's like, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
And it's interesting because this week we have been linked with him.
Yeah, we have.
I mean, look, links are links. Doesn't mean anything, but it looks like he wants to leave Saudi or already. I think I can't remember what club he's at. Is it Al Hilal? Maybe he's at. I can't remember where he was at in Saudi, but he obviously wants to leave. If I'm taking anyone, people might not agree. If I'm taking anyone from Saudi as a striker that wants to leave this summer, I'm taking Ivan Toney. And people might not like that, but he wants to come back to England. He is the type of striker that would actually link play, score goals, and create chances for himself. And you're probably not paying a huge fee for him either. So if I'm taking anyone, I'm not taking. Look, Darwin Núñez, in my opinion, has been ruined by Liverpool. He was ruined by Liverpool because the Darwin Núñez that we saw at Liverpool was not the Darwin Núñez that we saw at Benfica. He's come in and they've tried to, they've bit parted him. He was in and out the team, drifted in and out, and he just couldn't get his rhythm up. And he ended up thinking, fuck it, I'll take the money. And he's gone to Saudi. I think if you've got a hungry player that wants to come over from Saudi, I'm probably taking Ivan Toney. But even then, I think there are other strikers out there that I'd probably rather have than either one of those players, if I'm being honest with you. But yeah, if you're asking me out of any striker that's worth their salt, it's that man. But yeah, I don't see Eddie Howe signing Darwin Núñez, if I'm being honest.
No, I don't. Right, I'll finish these super chats and then we'll look to wrap up. So let's see. Guibazera, thank you very much for your super chat. Guibazera says, without Bruno, we're worse than Wolves. Eddie out. I tell you what, Guibazera, we are absolutely missing Bruno Guimaraes. Is there any news piece on when we can expect him back? We know obviously he was watching the game, wasn't he, against Karabag, from his hospital bed, while he'd either just had his surgery or was recovering from a surgery, something like that. But is there any news when we can expect Bruno back? Is it probably looking April time, I'd say?
Yeah, it is, and from what Eddie Howe said in his press conference, he said sort of 10 games he's going to miss from this point, which is even longer than what was initially mentioned. It was like, after the international break, so early April. I think there was rumours from Brazil's end that it could be towards the end of April. So he could be missing even more games. So like he might only be back for the May games, which is like what, 3 or 4 games at the end of the season. So like another reason why this has been just that decision to keep him on when he first pulled up with that injury and let him play on for another few minutes, and then he properly does it, which has then required him to have a significant period of time out, has just come back to haunt us massively. Obviously, we were there at the Spurs game. We saw it when it happened, when he pulled up both times in his own box, and then eventually when he went off. He knew it was bad. He knew it was bad at the time. That's why he was so emotional when he came off the pitch, because he knew it was a significant injury. And he's never injured. But we're having to do something we've never had to do, since he came to the club, is manage a significant amount of games without him. And when people question Bruno Guimaraes and say, "Oh yeah, we can sell Bruno. It's time to cash in. It's time to move him on." No, this guy is so crucial to Newcastle United. You're gonna have to pay a ridiculous amount of money. We paid 35 million for him, rising to 38. Double it, maybe even triple it if you're going to get a player of his ability again to do what Bruno Guimaraes does on the pitch. You're not going to get another player like him. He is absolutely crucial to us, and we are suffering significantly without him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got two more, mate. So let's go to Ronald Turnbull. Ronald Turnbull, thank you very much for your super chat. Ronald says, how many and who do we need to move on in the summer? I saw this coming, Pete, and I had at least 7 on my mind. How many do you think we need to move on?
Yeah, I think I probably had about 8 in my mind that I think need to be moved on. Some of those 8 are naturally moving on anyway, or probably will, without saying names. You know who they are, contracts running out, etc. But yeah, I would say probably about 8 that do need to move on. But the problem is, this is the issue, is that, is the club going to be ruthless? We've been told that Eddie Howe is going to be backed again this summer. Well, if we're going to spend roughly around what we spent last summer, that's fine, but spend it wisely. Don't be spending ridiculous amounts of money
Premier League proven
players. It hasn't worked. It's failed. It's flopped this summer. Go out and be shrewd with your money. Still go and spend 250, but can you let your money stretch a little bit further? Can it get an extra few players in for the same amount of money that you're going to spend? Can you go out there and be really shrewd and smart with your money? I'm expecting us to go out and get another batch of players. I really am, but I'm expecting them to be far less in a transfer fee. I think there might be 1 or 2 surprises in there in terms of not high-profile names. So the names that your Fabrizio Romanos and all the rest of it that are promoting with all these other clubs, these big names, I don't see Newcastle United being linked with those. I think they're going to be names that are of players with significant potential that people aren't talking about, that we're going to go and get from different clubs, not all these big clubs, but different clubs for cheaper fees. And we're going to come in and make them work because they are perfectly suited to the way we want to play. And that's the way we need to do it. So we could still spend 250 million, but we can make it stretch and get those players in to remove those other players. So we'll talk about just Robin Rees as an example. Right. They signed him for a cheap fee. Like I said, on what I've got, he's rated at 9 million. He's worth more than that. Jeannie Esther put in the chat after we were speaking about it, it'd be around the 30 million pound mark. Well, that's not a bad price. That's not a bad price for a goalkeeper of that level. I'd be paying that, because I tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if James Trafford is going to be going for more than that at Man City. If that's the case, let Villa go and pay 50 million for James Trafford. Let's go and get a goalkeeper that's equally as good, if not better, probably better in my opinion, than him. Go and get him for cheaper. Go and go into Europe and go and get him for cheaper. Go and nab him, bring him to the Premier League. I don't care if he doesn't speak English or not. Let your intentions be known early so we can start learning. Sadio Tonali didn't speak a word of English. We still signed him. Go get him. Go get someone like that. Be really bullish and go, you know what? we want that player. We're going to put that money down, regardless of whether we're in Europe or not. We want that player because he's the guy for our future. And go get him early. Because I've got a feeling he's going to overtake Chevrolet in the French squad. Chevrolet's on the bench for PSG at the moment. I think he might take over Chevrolet. And if he does take over Chevrolet, top teams are going to come in for him because he's going to be the number one for France at some point soon. I just know it. He's going to be the number one for France. If we can get him before he hits that stride, I think we've got that could be another Bruno Guimaraes level signing if we can get someone like that for a cheap deal. So we have to be smart.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, Ronald Turnbull, I'll give you the few names, mate, who are in my head. I'll give you the few names in my head. So the two, as Pete said, there's a few people who will naturally leave. So the likes of Adam Ramsdale will leave. I hope Odyssey's Vlachodimos leaves. Technically, in my head, he's already gone, but I'm hoping we get a half-decent fee for him from Sevilla. I think Nick Pope will stay because I think he will end up being number 2. Or I hope he will end up being number 2. I think Fabian Schär will get a 1-year extension. I hope Fabian Schär gets a 1-year extension. I would like to keep him in and around the club. I think Dan Burn will stay for another year. Obviously, Mark Charles and Botman will stay. Lewis Hall will stay. I think we need a backup left back, unless, of course, we're going to, promote Alex Murphy and actually start playing him a little bit more. But I have my reservations. I think we need a new left back. I hope Tino Livramento will stay, and I hope that we can keep hold of him. I think his injury record will probably mean we do keep hold of him. Kieran Trippier will leave, in my opinion. I don't think he'll get another year. That's just a gut feeling I've got. Whether I'm right or wrong, I don't know. I think Emil Kraft will leave. I don't think he'll get another extension. Looking at the midfield, I believe, and I did think this actually after the shot, funnily enough, with Sandro Tonali, I do think Sandro Tonali will leave. But we will see. He's not my most likely to leave. I'll get to that shortly. So there is a possibility of him staying. If the rumours are true that he's happy, great. But it could be that he stays for one more season. But then I think he will definitely leave after that one more season. I think we spoke about it on a previous show, saying that the only way that Sandro Tonali I think Sandro Tonali would jump at the opportunity to go back to Italy. I think that's evident. But maybe the fact that he's got so long left on his deal and the fact that Newcastle would want a significant fee for him, that's what will keep him here for another year. So I think maybe, yeah, do you know what? Maybe Sandro Tonali will stay. We'll see. I think Joe Willock should leave. And I hope that he has moved on. I think Jacob Ramsey will stay. I think Joelinton may stay because there is someone else who I'm going to come to shortly who I think will leave. Thinking of the forward line, I think Will Asula will leave. I think Anthony Gordon will leave. Harvey Barnes will stay on the left. I think Anthony Elanga will stay on the right, but I think Jacob Murphy might leave. One of Jacob Murphy or Anthony Elanga will leave, but I think it's more likely to be Jacob Murphy. And Johan Wisser, yeah, Pete, you've talked me more and more into that now. And I hope Nick Voltemade stays. And to be honest, I think he's in a similar boat to Sandro Tonali in that I think if he was to leave, he would want to go back to Germany, his home country. But I just don't know whether Germany, a club in Germany, thinking of Bayern Munich, I don't know whether they would pay the fee that we would want for Nick Voltemade. So maybe he will have another year, depending maybe on the World Cup. That could play a big factor. But yeah, so I've probably named, I can't think off the top of my head how many I've named there, but I think that's probably 7, at least 7, maybe 8. And then for me, it's about bringing in that new number 1, possibly a second goalkeeper, depending on Nick Pope. It's about bringing in the backup left back. It's about bringing up the backup right back. It's about bringing in maybe 1, possibly 2 central midfielders. I'd say a player for either wing, and definitely a new number 9. Definitely. But it just shows it's possible. It is possible, but we've got to trade better. We have to trade better because at the moment we don't trade well. We just don't. Over the years we haven't. Somebody put it in the chat earlier saying that we've had so many players and we've not sold at the right time. Jacob Murphy is for me is the exact point. Somebody would still offer us 15-20 million for Jacob Murphy, even at 30-31. They'd offer it right now. This summer, if we said that we were willing to sell Jacob Murphy, that's what we get. Jacob Murphy stays for another 12 months. We're not getting anywhere near that. We're just not.
I can't decide on who's going to leave between Barnes and Gordon. I think one of them leaves this summer, and I can't decide on which one it is.
I think it's Gordon because of the noise piece. I think because of the noise, and I think because of the fee that we would get, it unlocks that transfer spend, doesn't it? And selling Anthony Gordon. And if he's not fully there, if he's not fully committed, and let's be honest, Pete, we're going to hear between now and August, we're going to hear Newcastle haven't got Champions League, Newcastle haven't got European football. That's all you're going to hear. And he wants, as we've seen this season, he wants to be playing at the very top level. He thinks he deserves to be playing at the very, very top level. And when he is playing on the very, very top level, you see that in his performances. What we saw today is proof that he doesn't do it consistently. He does not do it consistently.
And that might be a reason why Swan doesn't come in for him, though.
Potentially.
Because they're looking at his Champions League and his league performance and going, do we want to pay a fee that's beyond what we are willing to pay to get him in the club? Because Newcastle will demand a fee more over his value. For me, I think his value, whether we agree with it or not, is minimum 75 million, regardless of whether we think he's at that level or not. The reason being, we paid 45 for him. He had that one season that propelled him to another level. He's then scored the goals that he has in the Champions League. That adds value on, regardless of what we think in the Premier League. And we're going to want to make a profit on Anthony Gordon. We're not going to sell him for 50 million, 60 million.
No.
I think it'll be around the 70, 75 million mark is minimum. But if you're looking at another English team coming in for him, you're going to then add value onto that because of the English tax.
It's over 80 million, isn't it?
And then I think to myself, who's going to pay that for somebody that's so inconsistent, like we've just said, and we've been saying all season? Who's actually going to pay that? Are they going to look and go, okay, let's run another year down and let's have another look at him? Can he be more consistent next year? Can we get him when he's consistent in the Premier League and doing it week in, week out? Then we go and cash in when he's got less years on his contract. But with Barnes' contract is ticking down. He's got a question to answer on whether he's going to sign a new deal or not. Because I think this summer is pivotal for Barnes. He either signs a new deal or we sell it. And that's what's conflicting with me. I agree with you with Murphy. We probably need to sell now if we're going to. I think there's a newly promoted team out there. I think Frank Lampard, Coventry, if they want to make an investment of an experienced player that's played at a level that's got leadership experiences, I feel like this is why they've been putting the armband on him recently. Not just it's his birthday, but almost showing I'm a leader at this club, and the club are going, he's a leader at this club, which adds value to his thing. And it's almost like those teams that might be looking at a player that need a fast winger that can nab a goal here or there. He's proven he can get assists.
Got his Champions League goal.
Yeah. And it's like, is there a team out there that are willing to pay 20 million for him? Bearing in mind all those years ago under Rafa, we signed him for 12 million. We're then selling him for more at this stage in his career.
Yeah, I think there is.
I think Asula needs to go. Wisa needs to go. I think, like you said, Willett, I agree with. I would keep every one of the other midfielders. I actually think Sandro is going to stay one more year. I think
one more year.
I think he might do one more year.
Do you think he's destined to go to Italy?
I think he wants to go to Italy. I think a year. I think because remember his contract I think runs out in 2029, but he's got that option of extending it to 2030. So if he stays another year to 2027, that puts him into the 2-year. Like that's the 2-year breaking point. Is that you? I could see you extending.
Yeah, I could see the club saying to him, "Give us one more year, get us back in the Champions League, and we'll let you go for 60." And that's it. As long as it's an Italian club, you can go for 60, and then you're getting your money back. You're making a profit. You're making a very small profit, but because we've already paid 2 or 3 years of his contract, you've got that big PSR. Or what will it be? SCR at that point. You've got that money that you're making on him, and he's getting his move back to Italy, and we're not selling him to a rival. I think we'd sell him for 55, 60. I think we would.
That would be the smart move. It's whether the club are willing to do that. But I hope that's what should happen with the eventuality that he goes back to Italy and he goes back there. But I'm going to say something now, and it could change. I'm going to say something now people might not like, but I'm not sure that Newcastle will give Fabian Schär another contract.
Do you not think? Or do you think that? Do you think? Well, to be honest, when I said it, I would like the club to give him another contract, but I wonder whether he himself would accept another contract, knowing he could probably get a 2 or 3 year deal somewhere else, maybe less money, but then he's got more chance of playing because he is at the latter stages of his career.
The reason why I would maybe think it might be a smart move to not give him a new contract. I love Fabian Schär, and I was of the mindset earlier on in the season that he could stay for the rest of his career. But I genuinely feel like this is a moment, particularly after today's performance, because I don't think he was great, Malik Chow, is that I think there needs to be another right-sided centre-back that comes in that actually competes. Not even a right-sided centre-back, someone that can play right or left, that can come in and compete. Competes not just with Malik Chow, but with Dan Burn and Sven Botman. I think Dan Burn should be stepping back next year. We shouldn't have another year of Dan Burn at 34, 35, playing week in, week out for Newcastle United. As much as we love him at the club and he's done great. Again, there were mistakes by him today. He's looking really erratic with his behaviour. I've noticed the last couple of games. He's getting into a lot of arguments with referees and linesmen, a lot of arguments with players. Don't know whether he's really frustrated because players are getting the better of him, but that's been out of character with Dan Burn. It seems like he's losing his head. He did it against Man City. He just seems to be getting like in performances are dropping because he's getting too involved in that. Same with Karabag as well. Dropped off performance. Same again today. Seems like players are getting the better of him, and I think it's messing with him a little bit. And we can't afford to have players like that. And I think a player coming in of significant quality could either play with Malik Chow or in replace of him, and play with Malik Chow if, for example, Sven Botman isn't fit week in, week out. It's a case of, right, you produce now. We need to manage him, but you produce. And if you don't, this guy will come in and play with Malik Chow. But it's also appointed to Malik Chow. If you're not performing and making mistakes. Today, there was in the first half, there was a simple pass that hit straight at Beto, and they went on the counter-attack and then they scored from it in the first half with Malik Chow. And it's like, how the hell have you done that? And it's like, these things are starting to creep in now, is that you need to keep players on the toes. These things, and I think that's where they might make that decision. Not because Fabian Schär's finished or anything like that. I think he'll come back and do a decent job, but you want another player coming in that's going to ask a question to the other three to go, I want this spot. You're going to have to play well every week, otherwise I'm going to come and take it. A little bit like what Malik Chow did this season. Yeah.
Absolutely. Right, let's get to our last super chat as it stands. Benny Boy. So Benny Boy says, thank you for the super chat, Benny Boy. Benny Boy says, do you think because the PIF are involved in so many other huge investments worldwide is why they've taken ages to get things done for us?
No. I mean, I don't know, but it shouldn't be a reason. They're a multi-billion / trillion pound investment. So they have a ridiculously well-stacked team to deal with things on all fronts. So this should not ever be an issue. And we were a significant investment, not in terms of money, but what it meant for them in football. So we should have meant more. We should mean more. We were their first big investment in football. And obviously they've invested in the Saudi League and et cetera, that's gone on from that. But we should mean more to this club, to this ownership. And we're being told by David Hopkinson that we do mean more, and that they are right there at the table. But my question is, go prove it. I'm sick and tired of talking. I don't want people telling me what they're going to do. I need people to go and do it. And then go, here you go. I want to be seeing a nice kind of visual of the new training ground and what it's going to look like like bird's eye view, like digital version. I want us to be able to watch that video where it shows us around what it's going to look like and when it's going to be made. I want to know that they're going to put money into ensuring that it's made at the earliest opportunity. Not all training ground's going to take 4 years. Nah, I want training ground 2 years. Done. We're going to invest to make sure that people are working around the clock to get this done, because we've been waiting for it at least a year and a half, 2 years longer than what, in my opinion, it should have been. These are just my thoughts. People might not agree with it, but I feel like this should have been done a long time ago. And I feel like because of the fact that it's taken so long, they need to not waste time with it and get it done so we can get into it as quickly as possible. Because as I say, Chris, this is not just to encourage players coming to Newcastle United, it's to encourage sponsorships and investment in Newcastle United. You saw what Everton did with their training ground when they had it done. They were getting, what, 12, 13 million a year off that alone. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when it isn't, it is in terms of revenue, and it is in terms of what you can put on the books to put towards transfers. And then you add a training ground or training kit sponsor to that in a brand new training ground. You know, you could be getting 20 to 25 million on that alone. The training ground and training kit, an extra 25 million in on revenues. That propels us. That's just for the training ground. That's not even with the stadium. The stadium puts us into top 6 territory if we got a new stadium. But that's what we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you? What are your thoughts on that, mate? Just before we wrap.
I don't know. I've been disappointed. I obviously I look back to, when was it? October 2021. Lots of excitement, lots of joy, and just to think in October it'll have been 5 years since we had the takeover. I look at prime example, Pete, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Leicester, when the Leicester owners came in and they built that fantastic training complex, and people were saying, it's up there with the best in class. That's what we should have been doing. That should have been done as a bare minimum. I agree with what you said at the start of the show in terms of, that was an easy win. That was it. That was a quick one. Because really where the training complex is, as long as it's in and around Newcastle, not too far away from the stadium, it's not that big a deal. Stadium, yes, I can understand. There's complications. There's various different things that they have to get round or have discussions around. But training complex, that should have been done. And how great would it be, in a January or summer transfer window to be showing players around and going, this is where we do our business. You spend every single day of your working life in this building, and this is, and if you get injured, these are the facilities that we've got available for you. This is where you're going to be spending the majority of your time with your colleagues. It goes back to a normal work life situation, doesn't it? If you've got this swanky new office, you're going to get an extra 10-20% out of your colleagues, your staff, because they're going to be looking around going, I want to be here. This is great. And the fact, we always laugh about it, don't we? We used to have wheelie bins as ice buckets, and we used to have paddling pools for ice baths. But yes, we've had upgrades, and yes, that's great. But again, the point that you made at the very start, absolutely spot on. There was no reason why we couldn't do those upgrades and still build a new place. There's no reason why that couldn't happen. And we know that, money isn't necessarily a big problem for the PIF. We know that when building infrastructure, it doesn't have the same impacts, on the likes of PSR, FFP, SCR, whatever it may be, whatever year you're in. So there's no excuse to not go and do that. And I think that is a ball that has been dropped. You could blame the management structure. You could blame, the uncertainty around the CEO, the sporting director. It could go on. But ultimately, somebody should have made that decision. And that's where you could arguably point to the PIF and go, well, actually, somebody should have been knocking on the door and explaining the situation and saying, this will help. And no doubt they just wrote the check. There you go. Go and get it done. So it's on somebody. Quite who, I don't know, but it's on somebody. And that's something that should have been done a long, long time ago.
Yeah, I agree. You just you talking about that there just makes me think. Just imagine the gates to a new training ground, and you got Keith Downey doing his Sky Sports talking about the player, and the player arrives, drives into the training ground. It's like a huge complex, and you see all the reaction and the build up and the content that's put out on the back of that. But there was rumors that there's going to be like houses for potential new signings or people to stay there like overnight or for days. So like a new signing that hasn't got anywhere to live can live in these houses. And
how impressive would that be?
Yeah, just walk over to training every day
and live over there.
Yeah, just live in there, and players come in, pop in, and mix with them and build relationships in those days because they're going to be there every day. It's just that sort of thing, that sort of vibe. Like that's a player's dream. That's like elite stuff. And we're willing, as far as we're aware, we're willing to put 200 million. That's like one of the most amount of money that anybody's put on a training ground or close to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
well, you saw in the Tottenham documentary, didn't they? That Tottenham in their training facility, they've got like it's the apartments or something, but they're built into the training grounds. And sometimes players, you know, if they got a bad injury and they go, "Oh yeah, I'll just stay here tonight, just stay over." But it's the best of the best. And if players just see that and they think, "Oh, do you know what? That'd be great." Or like you say, when you're signing a player, and you know, you always see, "Oh, what hotel have they checked into?" And it's like, no, it's all done behind closed doors. They're just staying in the training complex.
Flew in at midnight, stays overnight at the training ground, and then just pops over to the training complex the next day to sign the contract, do the shirt signings, all the rest of it early morning, because it's just a couple of minute walk to over to it. You're able to get deals done straight away, get them on a plane, get them over to Newcastle, get them driven in to the training ground, and then they're housed there for a couple of days just as they're doing all the formalities, and then the deal's announced. Just
levels. There's levels to this game, Pete.
There is levels to this game. I think that's a great way to end it, because there is levels to this game, and we were not levels at all today. No. And there's been a few Everton fans come in saying, "Oh, you know, you're saying Everton are rubbish, but we scored 3 past you at St James's Park." Yes, you did, because we were shy. So we're not putting ourselves on any pedestal as being great. We've been shy. It was just the fact that you were just a better version of shy. That's the reality. But anyway, we march on to Man United Wednesday. We may well be doing a match preview, so stick with us on this. Bear with us.
Yeah,
we'll have Dan on at some point to do a match preview. But look, we did this early so we could finish early and we could go and enjoy our nights with our families and just get football out your head for a little bit, because sometimes we need to. But thank you for everyone joining us. We've had 800 to 900 in the chat all night watching this show. It's hard when we don't win, and it's been hard for me, Chris, and Daz to do this tonight, but we appreciate you. Just on your way out, give us a like, please. If you're on YouTube, if you're on X, feel free to come over and give us a like. Any type of support is great support for the channel, and we really do appreciate all your support, because as hard as it is for you guys, those that are probably watching now that have come back from St James's Park and showing you support for the lads, for us that unfortunately don't live anywhere near and weren't able to get a ticket for the game today, us talking about it either on the chat or us 3 boys live, it's not easy when you go through days like this. But we're Newcastle United fans. We follow them through thick and thin, and we'll be back midweek to cheer on the boys again. Hopefully 3 points. But Chris, how are we gonna see out this show? I'll try to think of a good video.
I reckon we do Bruno, because we're missing Bruno. We need Bruno. Yeah, I don't want to play any others because I don't feel like they deserve it.
Yeah, we're in sync. We're in sync. I just hoped and wished that the players were in sync, like we are. As my boy tries to steal in the, he had to jump in the screen. But we'll end on Bruno. Thank you, people. Take care. We'll be back soon as my little boy comes in. This is where I'm going to spend my night. Me and the boy are going to have some fun.
Good stuff.
You guys take care. Speak to you soon. Away the lads.
Cause sooner or later in life, the things you love, you lose. But you've got the love I need to see me through. You got the love, you got the love, you got